Well, hey, sports fans. Got some weird lighting going on here. Are women supposed to be over men? This is America. This is 2024. People will say you're asking that question. I am, because have you not seen a complete role reversal in our culture today? Have you not seen where women are trying to be men and men are trying to be, well, feminine? Of course you have. We've got a whole trans agenda. A coworker of mine informed me of a man who had the surgery to become a woman and wears that on her sleeve, goes into the bathroom, the woman's bathroom, and waits until one of two women leave their position and go into the bathroom, and he follows them to standing there waiting for reaction. Well, they don't do anything because in this upside down America, that man who became a woman has more rights than they do. Isn't that fun? Spends 2 hours stimulating his, whatever you want to call it, with sex toys on company time, not lunch hour, not breaks, and they cannot do anything about it. He claims it's part of his physical, it's a doctor's excuse. So just know your taxpayer dollars are paying for this foolishness. Why are there men trying to be women? Now, Pacific has admitted I have a feminine side, but for me to become a woman, no. Pickaxing dirt on my property. The yard is uneven and I'm trying to smooth it out, and I really need a bobcat or a front end backhoe or a shovel and a backhoe, and trying to make drainage because we had 9 inches of rain last June and the yard flooded, and I want to make kind of a basin for the water to run in like they do with the businesses now. No, I'm definitely a man. And Pacific years ago broke the mold of what YouTube does. You have Better Bachelor, he's got an outstanding channel. But Pacific didn't do that. Pacific didn't get the professionals. Pacific didn't do what most Americans are conditioned to do. They tune into images, acting, polish. It's very rare to find people in this country that like unvarnished truth. You grab a real 2x4 from, say, the 40s. It hasn't been kiln dried and messed with, and you slide your hand down it, you're going to get splinters. And most Americans don't like that. That's why most American women go to churches where they can have their ears tickled and white knighted by a pastor who claims to be declaring the whole counsel of God. Has the church in America made women any better? No. I think of Beth Moore, Marilyn Hickey, Joyce Myers. I think of Christianity has probably manufactured more flake, more plastic, less sincerity than a Chinese toy factory. That's nothing new. I've said this all along. Most women in a Christian church setting in America today are not to be desired. They have become just like their feminist liberal counterparts. Attitude, childish, immature, materialistic, caught up in Starbucks, SUVs, dogs, and Netflix, their self. Women are funny. In my workplace, they'll judge me. We're going to talk about African American women because I work in a place dominated by African American women. And women will judge my hair length, my glasses, and this, and of course all this, and say, "Are you gay? Have you seen me flirting with men? No. See me holding hands with men? No. Do you see me looking at men that way? No. You look like you're into women. But you guys all hang out with the black males that are gay, and you yuck it up with them. What is that? Women are different. Sometimes they're just downright strange. That's why there's been books written on men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We laugh, but the reality is there was a book written in the 1970s called The Incompatibility of Women. The author was not a Christian. He used a lot of psychology, but everything he said was spot on. He talked about an entire generation of young boys being raised in a public education system that's dominated by women. And guess what? It's still same today. If you have any educators in the public education system that are male, they're probably gay or strange. Now, I'm not saying there's no men out there in the education system that aren't good. I'm not talking about basketball, football coaches, or shop classes. I'm talking about teachers. Men in America today have nothing but women domination all over them. When I drove school bus from Denver schools to everywhere, I've encountered women that are always yelling and screaming at the boys simply for being boys. I remember growing up, I could have probably been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD. I'm sure I could have. My mother tried Ritalin. That didn't work. They came out with a book, Why Your Child is Hyperactive. To this day, I still get criticized because I like to talk a lot and I have high energy. People at my work are always telling me, slow down. I said, there is no speed limit for Pacific. And I'm not talking about driving. I'm talking about just everything I do with intensity. Got a piece of granola stuck in my teeth. I hate that. Anyways, me and my little quirks that everybody loves on YouTube. You know, when I do stuff like this, they think, you know, we all got them. So, are women supposed to be over us? How has that worked out for America? I think the reason we're seeing a surge in trans men that want to be women is because they've been raised primarily by females. And no offense to the trans, I'm not transphobic. I shot pool with a trans. I thought it was funny. He wanted to wear a woman's top, real low cut, had all the curly Q hair all over the chest. And I thought, okay, we're not doing a real good job of being feminine. I mean, sometimes I've walked in there with the camisole on. Thought, let's show these people you want to do this. You might want to rock and be a little more feminine. And most people I would talk to say a lot of trans are, there's some mental issues. This is not an attack. This is not mean spirited. It appears that way. I had a woman come up to me a couple years ago in the workplace we both worked at together. At that time, she stated that I feel really uncomfortable because he had his surgery to become a woman and came into the woman's bathroom and he's never done that, and laid out his sex toys and panty liners on the counter and stood against the back wall of the bathroom waiting for the women to come in, and just stood there looking for an opportunity for a lawsuit. Isn't that nice that you got to go to a workplace like that? You know, just 40, 50 years ago, men would have had some pretty insultory things to say. FAG, you're weird, get the F out of here. And I don't endorse that. I think mankind in America has never really had it right. Overly, extremely, abusively macho on the one hand, or overly feminine and wussed out on the other. Men that try to be trans are not good looking men, and they're not good looking women, and you just look at them and go, my gosh, what is the draw? But strangely enough, in this country, there's somebody for everybody, except for me. Normal is out. But I wrote some notes to keep track of myself. This is all my own, except quoting from the Bible, 1 Timothy 2:12. Let's start at verse 9. Likewise, I want women to adorn themselves with proper clothing, modestly and discreetly, not with braided hair, gold or pearls, or costly garments, but rather by means of good works as befits women making a claim to godliness. Let a woman quietly receive instruction with entire submissiveness. But I do not allow a woman to teach or exercise authority over a man, but to remain silent. For it was Adam who was first created, and then Eve. And it was not Adam who was deceived, but the woman, being quite deceived, fell into transgression. But women shall be preserved through the bearing of children, if they continue in faith and love and sanctity with self-restraint. That's loaded stuff. Are women full of self-restraint today in America? That answer is an authoritative no. Women were made different. They drive and operate off emotions. I have worked with women, a song will come on the radio, and they have no concept of my voice sucks, I don't sing good, but a song will come on, and you're just looking at them going, let me do that. Pacific, stick to your day job, please, please. Women will not hesitate to criticize us. They can wear clothing that is just tacky, ugly, nasty. Let a guy do that. Let a guy do what I do. In my workplace, it is dominated by women superiors. Now, as a Christian in a secular world, there's not much you can do to stop that. Good stuff. The secular world does not recognize biblical absolutes. Every woman I've worked under has shown ineptness, rudeness, moodiness, emotionalness. The different bosses that I've worked for, you go to approach them and they talk to you with tone in their turn simply for asking a question. I remember I was at Denver Schools and there was a secretary at the terminal I worked at, She was a mean Hispanic woman. She was not nice. She was nasty, except her little clique of Hispanic women. And you'd have to go back there and ask her for a DOT thing for the healthcare clinic that they chose to use. And I tried to experiment because she's nasty. You walk and stand behind the counter and she would just go, the whole mean look. And I waited for her to say something. She doesn't. She just stares and glares. She doesn't say, hey, can I help you? Good morning. Yeah, I need to pick up a DOT thing. And the attitude and the venom. And I went to her boss, which is literally, 5 feet from the front of that counter, her door, one day, and I said, you tell us to be professional, and every time I go to her and everybody else is saying it. And the female boss said, well, Mike, that's just the way she is, but she's great. She does so much for me. Did you catch that? It doesn't matter how you feel, Mike. She does so much for me. She's a great secretary. And I said, except she doesn't have people skills. If I come in and talk to you that way, what are you going to do? You're going to have a problem with it. We talked about the difference between men and women. Women will gang up like a bunch of hens in a hen house and will beat and peck somebody to death, even if they're totally in the wrong. Men don't do that. Men are more isolationists. We deal with stuff. We don't grab a pack of men and say, man, I need your help, man. Women are like a pack of wolves in any workplace setting. When I lived in Hong Kong, without getting into all the details, my then wife, Beth, had really caused a scene. She had a friend named Karen. Then there was a bunch of ladies she was friends with. There was Merle, Irene, and Karen. I was very, very naive to pursue Beth. Looking back, my mind was like it was on drugs. I got caught up in yellow fever. I got caught up in the belief that Asian women were far better than American women. And in many ways they are. In many ways they're not. But Civic has come full circle. He's completed the circle. I now have probably more interest in Asian and white women than ever before, and less interest in African American women. We'll get to that in a moment. Hispanic women, no. No, absolutely no. I dated a black woman before I dated a Hispanic. Beth had started a bunch of trash. One night, I would go up to the Bowen Road and we'd walk. The ladies would walk their employers' dogs. I ended up walking Beth's boss's dog because it all talk and took all up and the kick up all the way up. Not a lot of walking, a lot of stopping and talking. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this dog a good run. Another thing that women, Aussies that come to Hong Kong and bring these dogs, they're used to roaming the outback or the country, and we're going to coop them up in a skyscraper where you can hear the staccato barking echoing through the tile corridors, and there's no carpet. I think, my gosh, white women bringing their obsessive disorder of dog addiction all the way to Asia. But nevertheless, I made a little pocket change here and there walking dogs for a Singaporean Aussie and an Aussie woman and then a Chinese woman. I made enough to pay my rent one month and my food. Karen had walked down the hill with me one night, and it was okay. Beth said, yeah, she's got to meet somebody. Why don't you guys walk together? I said, well, you know what? Since you're getting off late, I'm going to go ahead and eat out. She said, that's fine. So Karen and I met at, I think it was called Cafe Coral or Coral or something. And she said, I wanted to tell you, something, and you cannot tell Beth this. And I said, okay, what is it? She said, when you were in the States, Beth really talked bad about you. And when you came here, she talked bad about you. And I met you, and you seemed pretty cool. And I said, well, Beth and I said, it's not been easy. She told me where Beth had read my journal, where I had written, Beth is dead in bed. She lays there and does nothing. And my drive for her sexually has abated. She saw that. She shared that with Karen and the ladies, and Karen and the ladies said, why don't you two look at porn? That's normal, that's normal. And Beth had asked me to look at porn, and I noticed she came alive watching lesbian porn. I had wondered if she didn't have that going through her. She said she didn't, but I saw her dance with another lady one night, and she was sensual and sexy, and I said, wow, you can't dance that way with me, but Beth did not represent what she was. Or shall I say, she did not represent with her actions the words that came out of her mouth. And I got hooked on that for 4 years. It did a number on me. I was obsessed. I was looking desperately to cling to something because of the shitty marriage I was in the States to a Caucasian woman. And all of you that listen to me formally know what that was like. I never blew Karen's cover. A couple days later, or a couple evenings later, we were up there. I met everybody. And Karen's standing aside. Irene, Merle, all these girls. And Beth says, looks at me, watch out for the snake. And I looked around. Where's the snake? What I didn't know was Beth was referring to Karen. And this is how men get sucked into some garbage. I had walked down to Shangwon after we walked the dogs, and I got a message from Karen on Messenger. Beth was calling me a snake, and if you said anything, I'm going to tell her everything you said. I said nothing to her, and I thought she was talking about a snake that's in the jungle out here. No, she was talking about me and you. I said, I never told her about our conversation. Never. And I'll meet you face to face and her face to face if that comes out, and I'll be happy to stand with my ground. Well, the next day, we walked early. Morning time. There was fog in the air. Went up there, and there was like this cement balcony on the hillside. I don't know if there was a house behind it at one time, but we were standing on it. Stone railing, and we're looking out over the skyscrapers and the dense jungle down the mountainside of Hong Kong. And there was a lot of temper, and Karen made accusation, and Beth was angry at me. And I said, hold on. I said, first of all, I need to say something. Unfortunately, as you know, Beth and I are having trouble with our marriage, and Beth decided to spill that into the streets. I tried to keep that in-house, but that hasn't happened. And I said, I loved her. I said, there's problems. And I said, but what is going on up here today is not my fault. I said, I'm being accused of things by Karen, by Beth. And Beth has bled our personal business in the street. She read my journal and blabbed it all to you guys. That was private stuff. She wasn't supposed to get into that. And if she has an issue, she should have come to me, and she didn't. I said, Karen and I walked down the hill one night, and Karen opened up a conversation informing me of Beth's talk about me behind my back while I was in the States, while I'm here. Karen said, I got to know you and you seem pretty cool. And I shared some stuff with her. And I said, because she had seen what was going on, The next day, Beth says something about watch out for the snake, and dumb me, I'm thinking she's talking about a snake. I didn't know she was making a slam to Karen, and Karen, I never said a word to Beth about you until right now. And you message me and tell me I'm going to blow out everything you said. Go ahead. I have nothing to hide. But I'm not at fault for this. Merle, Irene, Karen, all turn their guns on me. You know, these wonderful Filipinos. Yes, you are, blah, blah, blah. I said, how am I to blame? We have personal problems. I didn't blow it out there. She did. And Beth stood there silently because she didn't expect me to stand strong and tall. And they started yelling, and I said, hold on a second. I said, I see where this is going. I said, you guys defend each other because of your culture and your race instead of standing on truth. I have nothing more to say. And I turned and I walked, and I went home. We all know Beth was a problem. I was dumb for being naive enough to thinking she was great wife material. I made a very stupid mistake and wrapped myself 4 years of that, a lot of money and a lot of stress and a lot of up and down emotions. And we men can be guilty of being like a woman and driven away with emotionally driven thinking, not logic, but thinking. Because when you operate on emotion, logic is gone. So I can't call it emotionally driven logic anymore. It's emotionally driven thought processes. Beth to this day hasn't changed. I had located her Facebook, and now she's dressing like a witch, and she's addicted to Smule, which is a thing used in Asia where it looks like the singer is live with her, but it's pre-recorded, and he looks to the right. And, are you ready? And Beth goes, yeah. And she poorly sings. I'm just being honest. She's not a good singer. And she gets 1 or 2 likes, and now she's a little star. Nothing's changed from the girl I met. And all the wives that I had married, all 3 of them, are still stuck in a time warp. Pacific has gone through a kaleidoscope of massive changes, which I will not get into here. I think Filipinos are cute, but I think a lot of Filipinos are nothing but trouble. And actually, as I've come back to the States and returned into life, still believe in, oh my gosh, I want to live in Asia. That's cool. I worked with Hispanic women. They favor their race. I work with 90% black women. They favor their own. The way they talk to each other, the voice inflections is much more positive than it is with me. A friend of mine who teaches had a paraprofessional, a black woman, come to her and said, when a black woman, and the paraprofessional was a black woman herself, she said, when a black woman gets any kind of power, like a job promotion, whatever, it goes straight to their head. And I'm personally witnessing it. 35-year-old woman who doesn't have good command of the English language. I'm not talking broken English, but she talks with a lot of that blackish, redefining the way a word's spoken. She loves to hear herself talk. She loves to be dominating, authoritative, and has shit-shamed employees she doesn't like publicly in front of everybody, but gives black women a free pass. I've watched black women. They favor their own black women. Black women, most of them have a huge lack of leadership, natural abilities. But same with Hispanic, same with white, same with Asians. And God did not create men to be dominated by women. And that's why so many marriages end up in the trash can in the U.S., because we have been conditioned to believe that we got to lay our masculinity aside and do whatever it takes for the woman. And it takes us years of making bad mistakes, bad marriages, bad relationships to wake up and realize, Ben, you need to be the head of your house and stop letting him rule over you. And if she wants to be immature and ridiculous, you need to stand up and say, you are acting like a child. And I don't care how much your kahunas are sticking out and how beautiful you are. I'm not going to tolerate this. But men are driven by their sex drive. I wrote some thoughts down. A lot of women that are in leadership position have emotional disorders, insecurities. And I've met several black women that were psychologists who needed a psychologist. They're rude. They look down their nose at everybody. And yet they studied psychology, and the very thing of psychology teaches that if you are looking down your nose at people, that's a form of insecurity. Emotional disorders, managing off their feelings, biases, prejudices, etc., not by laws, ethics, or fairness. I've watched this personally. Take a look at Ginsburg, Pelosi, AOC, Omar, Clinton, Feinstein, Whitmer, Haley. Oh boy, Nikki Haley, running on a Republican ticket, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a Democrat in disguise. Did you see the woman of the Secretary of State of Colorado saying Trump couldn't be on the ballot? I knew she was going to get slapped. But all of the justices unanimously shot her in Maine and Illinois down, said you can't do that. And undeterred, the Secretary of State of Colorado, who has no business holding that position, she should be tried and jailed for stepping over constitutional law. But unfortunately in the US, we live in a day and age, people can violate the Constitution and there's no penalties for it. The Secretary of State in Colorado hates Donald Trump because she's a feminist. She's a liberal. And feminists and liberal women are dangerous to this country because they rule by emotionalism and hatred. You want that as leadership? Whatever happened to we the people? Look at all the charges all these women are throwing at Trump. Look at what these women are doing by finding him. These black women coming after him, black women in New York. Did you see the ridiculousness of a black liberal judge, a black, you got Kamala Harris, and AOC, and others. They're married to white men while they're talking trash about whites, and white men are dangerous. Oh, is that why you married a white? Michelle Obama, another woman who is incompetent. White people don't move to black neighborhoods. I did, but I didn't see you in the CNN trucks pull up and do a live interview. And Michelle Obama moved to where? A white neighborhood, Martha's Vineyard. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Martha's Vineyard for the longest time probably did not allow blacks to own property out there. I guarantee you. And that's a liberal haven. Make no mistake about it. Racism is driven and fostered by the Democrats. They've had a history of it. They started the KKK. They supported the Jim Crow laws. And they, by and large, owned the plantations and all the big businesses that employed and had slaves. And when you get women in charge, logic goes away. Truth and cold facts go away. Because a woman feels a certain way, and those feelings invalidate truth. A woman's feelings invalidate cold, hard truth. I've said this. If you look at our commercials, they use baby music, toddler music, gling, 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 gling for adults. Has anybody stopped to ask why? The commercials are dominated by nasally white women that they have nothing to offer society but an irritating voice and commercial and get big money for it. When I was at Denver Schools, I watched this Hispanic woman would start trouble, start fights, start break room conflict. They did not get fired. I work in a place where black women can threaten people. And she, for the longest time, did not get fired until she threatened an office staff. And why do companies hire lots of women to be secretaries and answering the phones and front desks and what I call these apparatchiks positions? Because they know women will operate on emotion and be nasty and rude. That's what these corporations want. They know that women, their little ounce of power will go straight to their head, and there'll be a kiss up to the shitty organization they work for, and that's what they want. Since I moved to the South, I have seen a lot. The other day, I was at a Walmart, and my new roommate and I were in the truck. We went to Walmart and we went to church. And an overweight, ugly, unattractive black woman in her four-door car. I don't park near the store. They're halfway down the aisle. She just pulls in front of me, and I'm like, okay, you see we're trying to move. I backed up the truck 2 feet and turned to the left because there was nobody in the space left of me, and I always pull in so I can pull out. So my bumper's facing the passenger side of her car. And she looks at me and I pointed at me and I said, this is what women in America do, white, black, Hispanic. Still don't know what that means. And I pointed to her, I said, can you move up? She had 20 feet. There was a car just stopped. I don't know what they were doing. You'd think they're waiting for the parking space, but nobody's moving. She can move up 15 feet or even 10 and let me out, but she's not doing it. So I looked at my friend and she says, wow. I said, yeah, see, I said, that's what black women do in this country. So I have a loud horn on the pickup and I went, and she slams the thing in the park and goes, beep. And at that point, I said, move out the way, B. That's when I wish I had a loudspeaker under the truck and cue in. Move out the way, move out the way. Play her own crappy music to make a point. She continued the power struggle, and I said, man, I cannot believe this. This woman will go to her house and say, oh, some white guy. She will not see the error of her way. Let me pull in front of a black woman in an aisle, blocking them from getting out. You think they're just going to sit there and wait? I tell you what, they'd be up out of the car. You better get the fuck out of my way or I'm going to hit that thing. Women are not supposed to be over men. We see it all the time. Look at women drivers. Look at women drivers. Are they good? Are they safe? No. When you have emotion governing you, you're not going to be a good driver. You're not going to be a good parent. You're not going to be a good leader. And that is why, specifically in God's word, it says, let them learn in quietness. It tells women to be modestly dressed. Do we see that in American culture? No. Do we see this meek, submissive spirit in today's Western women, including Christians? Look at Beth Moore. You think Beth Moore is a submissive? She's a ding-dong, making big money, yelling and screaming about Donald Trump, while she is using the guise of ministry. Remember what the Bible says. Who thinks that godliness is a means to great gain? It says to get away from them. And all through evangelicalism in America, Christians will judge me for this. You look gay, you look this. But I'm not. But you guys are profiting off dumb sheep. And you're abusing the term ministry. And Beth Moore is not in the ministry. Let me make that very clear. Beth Moore is in the promotion of herself, her material kingdom. Again, we've seen women, it's not about you. Oh, we know it's not about us. It's always about women. It's always women get away with stuff in the workplace more than men do. Hands down. Women talk about sexual disparity and wage discrimination. That's a bunch of crap. I work at a place where a 35-year-old overweight woman got a position with no experience for what she interviewed for. Other women who had experience in that field were not even given a chance. And I overheard her saying to somebody, people think that I'm cliquey or I had favoritism. And she said, I am not. I said, I want to tell you, you were not hired by qualification. You were hired because some other fat black woman in Europe liked you. That's it. Now all of a sudden she went from a menial secretary to boss over just about everybody, everything, and overstepping bounds constantly. And you men know, you take on a woman in any position at work, even if they're wrong, watch out. They will get revenge. They're untouchable. Denver Public Schools, a Hispanic woman who ended up getting fired. She'll say she didn't, but And Denver schools did a dance with this woman. She started fights. She hurt people's feelings. She did not always pre-trip her bus, would ask other people to start it for her. Management ignored her. She made a statement in the break room one day, said, anybody fires me, I'll bring everybody down with me. Supposedly she had dirt on people in upper echelon. She left a child on the bus, finished her routes, parked the bus, didn't clock out at the clock, and got in her car and left. The child never showed up. The child wandered out of the bus in tears and crying, and a fueler saw the child. And Denver school still did not fire her. She was an alpha female. She would walk into the break room and in front of me and several others at 5-something in the morning. My coochie itches. I turned around and looked at her and she goes, what? I said, really? Well, I'm just saying the truth. I said, so what would happen if I walked in here and I said my balls itch? You'd probably get fired. Ha ha ha. For women in this country to say that there's not a disparity in how females are dealt with versus men, they're truly ignorant. The courts favor them in child custody, alimony, dispersion of the man's house, bank accounts, assets, and goods. Women yell and scream about chauvinism and men, and that's just a beating of a useless drum. Women have more rights categorically than we do. Fact. Movements are driven by emotionalism. BLM is nothing but emotionalism. It doesn't have a shred of truth to it, and the woman who headed that up took the $80 million given to the organization for her mansions and her personal. And this is what people do when they get that money. They build themselves a nest egg and a cushion in their lifeboat. I got mine. Screw you. I'm not going to comment on BLM. I'm glad Black History Month is over. I don't care about Black history. I live in Black culture, and the history they're making today is shitty. They produce garbage music. They left Motown. They left good classic stuff. And they produce a lot of crap. The Super Bowl was dominated by Tuck, another silly boy that doesn't break a sweat and thinking he's suave and cool. And that's the halftime show is dominated now by shoving black stuff down everybody else's throats. Never mind there's Asian, Hispanic, and Caucasians still are the majority in this country. But we have liberal feminism and liberal women that want to attack white men. The most dangerous thing in this country is a liberal white man or woman. But the Democrat Party is dominated by rabid feminists. Rabid feminists. God says a woman is not to have authority over us, but guess what? I got bosses and supervisors that are female. Women are not to be over men in any capacity. Women dominate this country. Sunday school teachers, 99% of them are women. Men don't want to be Sunday school teachers over kids. That's a travesty. Black women get an ounce of power, goes to their head. I see a lot of black women that they put a big emphasis on hair, nails. You go into their homes, their ghetto. There's a tarp over the roof. The house is filthy, rats, cockroaches running around, filth everywhere. And I'm going to say something about a lot of black women that get into managerial or upper end positions. They have no personal discipline over their obesity and their bad habits. But they get in that office and they're going to say, I'm going to make sure you do your job right. Man, you don't even do your body right. And management all across the U.S. is putting shitty, unqualified black women, Hispanic women, white women that are just emotionally driven train wrecks to fuck with your life and to jeopardize your job. It's kind of like Mordecai. Mordecai was a righteous man, and Haman didn't like Mordecai. And Mordecai didn't bow to this clown. And Haman built gallows. He said, I'm going to have Mordecai hung on them. Well, Haman wasn't very smart. His own relative Esther married King Xerxes. And when things came down to the pinch zone, she finally stood up and said, King, this man that you got in your court has issued an edict to destroy my people. And the moral of the story is at the end, Mordecai was exonerated, and Haman and his whole family was hung on the gallows that Haman had built. But American business likes to put bitchy women that are not qualified. They get that job, they get that ounce of power. What is wrong with a black woman that she's got to block me in a parking spot? There's no reason, and there was nobody behind her. She could have backed up or moved up. Refused to do so. I've noticed black women out here will not listen to a man. They will definitely not listen to a white man, and every damn thing they do is about a power struggle. And then they want to say Black Lives Matters. I know a woman I work with that wears racist shirts all day long. Black and proud. That's bridge building shit there, isn't it? And why does the workplace allow that? Let me walk in with white and proud. Let me do that and see how far down the road I get with that one. I'm tempted to get a shirt made that pokes the bear. Let me get a shirt that says Caucasian and proud. No apologies needed. Let me wear that to work and watch the fire start. I have black people that I like and respect, and there's some pretty black women, but honestly, there's a lot of hygiene deficiencies in the black African American race. There's a lot of personality deficiencies. They live off the carousel of endless, real or imagined racism. They're pigeons. They can't soar. They only listen to their music for the most part. They look down on me and favor their own. It's all down here in the South. Been out here 4+ years, 5 years, and they are incapable of seeing the slant that they operate from. And I thank God that I've had the experience of living in Hong Kong and Arizona and Colorado and Washington and Ohio and Florida and Georgia. And getting around, it gives you exposure. Why would a company hire an insecure woman who doesn't meet qualifications? Because they know it'll go to her head, and they'll know she'll try to kiss ass to ladder up, and the companies are okay with them treating us working ads like shit ads. They like that. The whole trans movement to me is driven by the fact we've been a female-dominated society over here. That men are shit-shamed for being a man. Look at what's happening with men today. You look at and notice a Caucasian woman. Now, black women are not like this. I'll say a shout out to black women. I can go up to a black coworker and say, man, I like your hair, I like your nails, I like your look. They don't get offended by that. Go compliment a Caucasian woman in the office place or the workplace in Denver, they're going to run to the boss or any big city and say, I feel uncomfortable with this. White women like to use the word stalking when a guy walked by one time and gave a look and carried on. He's stalking me. He glanced at you. How does that constitute stalking? And I've already beaten this dead horse, but white women consider themselves clinical physicians, clinical psychologists. They're always clinically diagnosing us. He has anger management issues. And you don't? Let me spend some time. I'll find what angers you because I'll make sure and hit the button and watch you go. I'm just trying to get out of space and I'm politely making hand signs. Any normal human being go, oh, boom, but not a black woman. This is what a black woman does. Don't tell me what to do. I'm in control of my life. Yep, I see that with your weight. And you're in a power struggle over a guy trying to leave the parking spot. You're feeling that, I don't know if you're having a personal orgasm down there. I stopped 2 white people from leaving their parking spot. I'm so big today. Yeah, Black Lives Matters. No, not to me. We got too much of that in this country. They need to ship them off and get them the hell out of here because they're just dead weight, flotsam, jetsam, and the stuff that floats around after the Titanic sinks. But in this economy, the Democrats are producing that kind of spawn. I know a woman who has a little boy, black, lives in the projects, lives without a bra, doesn't work, not a bad looking black woman covered in tattoos, wears her pajamas all day long, and her lesbian lover who looks more butch, a slender black woman who looks like she could beat the crap out of just about anybody. Neither one of them work. They live in the projects and they're younger than me. And they get taxpayer support to bumping clams all day. Women do not belong in leadership over us. Evangelical Christendom. Feminism has crept into the church. I left the church where the pastor died here locally. And a husband and wife team in, both claiming to be pastors. And she's a take charge woman. And I said, no, I'm not going here. And a good friend of mine There's a white woman here who said, "You ought to go, the church is growing." I said, "Of course it's growing, because you're ignoring the biblical imperative." I said, "You cannot have a woman pastor." A woman just started at my workplace who goes there. I knew her and her husband. "How come you stopped going?" I said, "When Fred died, it was time for me to move on." She said, "It's growing." I said, "I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not here to argue, but I'm not going to submit to a woman pastor." "Well, what about Deborah?" I said, "Deborah was not a pastor." And they like to pull out that one skinny little verse where Deborah was a prophetess. Yeah, one spot. And I didn't take the time to tell this woman, the deacon, the overseer, the bishop, "We want to talk about pronouns, so let's do it." Because the Bible loves to talk about pronouns. He must be the husband of one wife. He must rule his family, and his children must be subjective. He must have a good reputation with outsiders. He must not be given into strong drink. He must not be a lover of money. He must not be given into anger. He. Ha, ha, ha. Not she. It does not say the overseer shall be the wife of one husband. America is going to be slapped harder than any other nation in the world. They talk about Russia, they talk about Iran. They're godless anyway. But this country, to whom much is given, much shall be required. And this country has created, because of our comfortable affluence, and I've said this before, the more comfortable people are, the more petty and stupid they become. Women, because they can drive their own car and buy $8 Starbucks coffee and worship their dog, think that they're just the greatest thing since sliced cheese. But when women have the audacity to put their middle finger in the face of God, His attributes, and what it explicitly says in this word, and Christian women do it all day. I bashed Christian pastors. Most of them are not men by biblical definition. They're pansies and wussies who cater and white knight women while bashing men for lust, masturbation, and viewing of porn. Those same patsies don't bother to look at the fact that women have driven us to look at that. That those same pastors don't talk about, God says it's not good for man to be alone. But the pastor's response is, well, you need to hurry up and get married. No, we don't. No, we don't. Marriage is dangerous to us men today. And until pastors turn the ship around and start preaching to women, say, what gives you guys the right to think you're all that in a bag of chips? Where is that in the Bible? Where's this bashing men because they masturbate? You guys do what you want. You spend and spend and spend. Watch Christian women and how they drive their vehicle. They cannot and will not go the speed limit. Watch Christian women. And submitting to Beth Moore, she's a feminist. I'm not going to support Donald Trump because of what he did to women. Well, I'm not going to support Beth Moore because of what she's doing to men. You do not have the right to be teach or have authority over men. And she'll say, well, I'm over women. And did God ordain that? I don't believe he did. When men start listening to women and sit at their feet, the nation's going down the toilet. And men so desperate to eat dinner at the Y will bow to this crap. That's why we're in the mess we're in. That's why women can sit up on that pedestal and say, you're not worthy of me. No, actually, men, we need to reverse and flip the script. None of these women in this culture are worthy of us. Don't look at them. Ignore them and watch what happens. Women want to date a thug. Christian women say, I want a godly man. And guess who they end up getting? The guy that is anything but godly. And they won't have sex before marriage until they find some dog bone that was buried in the yard, and then they've compromised all of their views because they're in heat now. I've watched black women where I work. They use a different tone with black women than they do me. Many black women are very immature. You see it in their face, their countenance. Look at the music that black women my age listen to. Listen to it. Cardi B, like wet, B-U-S-S-Y, attitude. And they got their 3-year-old black daughters twerking to this. And mom making a video and posting it on social media. Corrupting and destroying their children's innocence. Black women don't want to hear this, but black women are not an example that we should hold up to this country, to the church, to the world. Black women calling themselves Christians and supporting the Democratic Party. They obviously haven't read most of this. And their reaction, their reflex is, why would you support Trump? It's not that I support Trump, but Trump is the lesser of two evils, and I'm going to vote for him because he's not pro-abortion. He's not pro-illegal immigration. Why would a Christian support one group of people illegally coming to this country? Why don't you allow the Filipinos? Why don't you allow the Thai? Why don't you allow the Chinese? Why don't you allow the Polish and all the other women to come over so that we men at least have a fighting chance to date somebody who isn't like the mess here? We know why Democrats favor illegal Mexicans, because it secures the vote for their corrupt ways. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at these clown women making fistfuls of money. Gavin Newsom is the true definition of a wussy, banning the sale of gas-powered vehicles in his state. On what grounds? This man's never worked a hard day in his life. He's done office politics and wears suits and ties and goes to fungal dinners at COVID while everybody's shut down and he can violate mask mandates. The guy should be tar and feathered. The crime in his state is off the chain, and he's sitting there smiling that everything is good. Let all those criminals come upon his governor's mansion, his bank accounts, and his assets. I guarantee he'll change his tune. Gavin Newsom is an example of a man who's become feminized. All these men that call themselves Democrats are nothing but feminized manginas. And if they're offended at that, I don't care. You cannot be a man who follows God and vote and support Democrat rubbish. America is in deep dog poo. And it's because we let women dominate us. I notice that women have a problem when I go down to the nightclub and I have my hair and feminism, and I've seen something very interesting. Black or white men sitting there with their hot dame at their side buying her drinks. And they're hot. I'm like, dang. They turn all the way around on the bar stool and look over at me. Now, I don't have an attraction towards those men. I'm just stating the facts. And I'll be moving to the music. And then they start moving and they're staring. What is happening in the world, in America today, is that men realize when you get involved with a woman, you're involved with a system. A complex, oppressive system. You know, you see Jack and Rose on the bow of the Titanic. That is all bullshit. When you got a woman today, you don't have that. You don't have them standing free on the bow. You got a woman who's putting a chain and just strangling the hell out of you. There are women that actually look at me and have judged me. Overweight, obese, undesirable, ugly black women. You know, Michael, I was pumping diesel in a bus a couple of years ago at the pumps, and a woman with a big giant mole right here, a huge amount of weight. And I had to move her bus one day, and it was not dirty, but filthy. The emergency triangles were busted and strewn on the floor behind the seat. There was food and shit and trash all around the driver's seat. The bus was a dumpster, and I told my boss, I'm not driving that. Why? I said, go in there and look at that. I took a video of it and put it on the school bus site on Facebook. Other bus drivers said, oh my gosh, we'd be fired for that. I said, not here. When I was driving and I was in that. She pulled up to the left of me, I'm pumping, and I hear her say, you know, Michael, I like you better with short hair. Michael, yes, ma'am? I like you better with short hair. I'm pumping. Did you hear me? I'm sorry, what? I wanted so bad to say, I like you better if you didn't have 300 pounds on you. And an armpit this big around with stubble and white chunk deodorant in it. If you notice, the blacks have leveled a lot of criticism about us whites, and we're not black, we can't talk, we don't understand. Well, this white boy understands. Most of you all are obese. Most of you have an attitude, and you got the gall to look at me as a white guy and judge me for my clothing, for this. Look at yourself in the full-length mirror naked and tell me what qualifies you. I look better naked than you do with clothes on. I've been attending a church that's mostly black. The preacher's white. He felt called to minister to the black community. So he never says hi. His wife has never said hi. His wife has, a white woman, has the fake dyed blonde hair, and she has that little sweater pulled over her but not in the arms, and sitting there like this mousy. And I've seen in the South favoritism towards blacks. I've seen laziness. I've seen sloth. I've seen people get promoted, and you're just like, what? Privileged people aren't me. I don't know where whites get privilege, but that, I'm still waiting to cash in my privilege card, and I can't, nobody will redeem it. Nobody. No one. Black women have judged me in my workplace constantly. Hey, morning. Good to see you. What really bothers me is black women have a gross inability to see the reality of their own awfulness. And women grow up with this sense of deity. White, black, Hispanic. Take Asian women here. Go through the flea market here, where the Asian women are selling all that plastic crap junk. And the Asian boys that are working with mommy, and they act gayish and they think they're tough. And look at these Asian women with the intense look on their face, and all they're looking at is dollar signs. They're miserable. They're unhappy. And what I've learned in my sojourn and travels is that women in general, worldwide, are not fit to be over us. And yet we in America let them dominate the hell out of us because we got a sex drive that doesn't shut the hell up. And as a Christian, yeah, we shouldn't look at porn. But guess what? It's safer than getting involved with these women. Rub one out, go on about your day. Is it pleasing to God? No, but is it pleasing to God what women have done to us men? Is it pleasing to God when pastors stand there Sunday after Sunday beating up on men to white knight the women? Excuse me, how come white men will not talk about the attitude the undercurrents and the bad behavior of Christian women today. How come they won't stand up and condemn Beth Moore, who charges an outrageous amount to go to her so-called insight? I think women in sports, women in combat, women riding Harleys is very unappealing to me. And for me to say that, I'm going to catch hell. That's okay. I catch hell no matter what. To find real ladies, I, for the first time in my ever life, have a roommate now who wakes up with a good mood every day. There's no moodiness, no period mentality, no PMS. She's quiet, she's respectful, she's clean. I have not met a woman like her. And people think, oh, you effing her? No, not at all. Something's happened to me over the years. I don't just look at anything female on two legs and go, after all the years of the dumb things that I've done, I'm just like, no, this is your home. Keep it your sanctuary. We're going to be a place where people can heal, people can live. Do I want to date a woman? Yeah, but if I told you what I want today, I'm not even going to say it on here because people will be like, no, I don't want a man. I want somebody much younger than me, but I don't want the immaturity that goes with it. I turned 58 on Saturday. I look at women I work with that are half my age, black, and they are so full of health problems. And these women judge me. They judge the length of my hair. And the women issuing the judgment, I'm glad you cut your hair. I said, why does it matter? I don't want to turn around and say, look at the size of your damn hips. And I know that the back of your legs would look like cottage cheese. What are you looking at me for? You're not interested in me. Why do you women gang up on men and judge them? Why do we gotta meet your bar? And this is why I do this. This is why I do this. This is why I don't give a flying flip. Sometimes I do it just to prove, all you trans, I can naturally rock it, and you guys, you look horrible. Wearing bras and panties and hair on your arms and hair on your chest, yeah, that's just grody. You want to be feminine, then do it right. I do have a feminine side. Sometimes it feels sexy to wear a camisole. Sometimes it feels sexy just to do the feminine thing. But do I got men coming over here? Do I go to men's houses? Am I a freak? No. Sometimes I just got weird stuff flow through me and I just want to do this and see what people do. It's fun to go into Home Depot with all the macho men and go with a shirt off my shoulder. It's so funny how many macho men are giving me the dirty look with their mousy, fake blonde hair women. Why do white women all dye their hair blonde with brown roots showing and their eyebrows brown? Why do they do that? It's ugly. It's stupid. It's very stupid and immature. These are the women that are judging me. We need to judge the hell out of them. You can't accept your natural color. Look at this baby. 58 years old, no dye. You can't even do that. You can't even claim that. And you stare at me. You got your big bicep built husband who's the king of home improvement. Hasn't done what I've done in here. They're going to go build a deck or a she shed. She shed. Isn't that sick? And women that will not see me, they see me in the store and they stare and glare. And I feel like saying, why you give me that dirty look? Because at my age I look better than you do? Is that it? But those same women will hang out with flaming gay, flamboyant men and go, Just something I've noticed. And occasionally when I go to Home Depot, some macho man will look at me, "Hey man, how you doing?" That's funny. They're not looking at me like I'm. Somebody say, "Well, maybe they got designs on you." Maybe they do. I had a guy at the nightclub when I was with my female friend the other day say he did not have the lane. He had the southern cut. Don't know his age, 40s. He's trying to grow his hair, and he says, "Man, I saw that. Can I get a picture of you?" Yeah. People like you're comfortable with it. I don't care if the guy goes home and does this. I really don't. I've learned that people cannot help what they feel an attraction to. I'm sure many men have looked at me on YouTube. Y'all remember that screwball? If I can remember his damn crazy YouTube name. He'd always comment on my nipples. And I started to get creeped out. I'm like, this guy's a mess. And he would leave his comments. You remember his dumb comments? As if he won't listen to me. Yeah, you don't have a channel. And you leave your snark ass comments, and I'm not going to listen to you because you're a dumbass. You wrote me wanting to be friends, and you said you fried half your brain cells on drugs, and you gave me your phone number and thought maybe we could be roommates. And I'm like, no. That's why people got mad at me. I understand if a guy has an attraction towards something. I don't believe it makes you gay because you see a man with a nice smooth chest and you feel some horniness. I think most of us agree none of us wants to take our rod and stick it up some guy's butt or have theirs up ours. But there's things that flow through all of us. So what? Gay is a lifestyle. I've had guys hit on me in a nightclub. Not interested. I don't care if guys look at me. I don't care if guys are drooling inside. I don't care. But I watch stuck-up, conceited women walk through there with their ugly boyfriends or their ugly husbands, buying them liquor and acting ridiculous and embarrassing. Only women in this culture can get away with singing terrible, wearing shitty, tacky clothes because the men see the nipple poking out. But men are judged and criticized harshly by women. Women say, "You can't judge me. If I can't judge you, then stop judging us." They can't. They're incapable of it. Women are not permitted to lead us. Most women in America have a Jezebel mentality. I wrote down here about black women, lack of personal management over their own selves. They're obese, they're immature, favor own skin color, talk in different tones, preferentially shit shame those they do not like professionally. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I don't believe in professionalism. Professionalism is a cult of a corporate world that is a way to discriminate, where you can use your ounce of power to finally go after those you don't like while favoring your own. There is no such thing as professional. When businesses are advertising and it's on the side of professional HVAC services, I'll be the judge of that. I'll be the judge of that. Most businesses that come in and do windows and siding, they put the windows in, and I saw error after error, but they were done. They got the windows in. I took 4 of them out of the back room. Sold 2 of them, ended up repurposing the other 2, and totally redid the room myself and put them in better than they did. And you pay thousands of dollars for this shit. And that's when it hit me. Stop using the big boys. Learn how to do it yourself. And because it's your house, you're going to care about what you're doing. I don't follow the rules. That shiplap's supposed to go this way. I decided to do it that way just because I can. This room was covered in paneling, that ugly paneling they painted. Not 1 layer, 2 layers. And in the south here, before this house had AC, the first layer of paneling, when I got the outer layer off, peeled like onion. All that glue had long ago lost its integrity, and ribbons of paneling were sprawling to the floor. It looked like the Titanic's hull in the stern section. I was like, wow, I didn't know this stuff did that. Humidity's a beast down here. I sheetrocked the whole room. Cement block, and I used the Pink Panther 4x8 foam board, X-Acto knife cut it to put in between the what I call the stringers that are cement nailed to the cement block, cinder block, and you can attach the drywall to it. There are good white women out there, folks. And people will say you're making racist statements. I'm making factual statements. And living here in the South, I've seen more racism by blacks dished out against us. I've seen favoritism, blacks towards blacks. I've seen different treatment of myself. I've seen different women who were verbally abusive and horrible to me. And when you went to black leadership, they didn't do a damn thing. But let a white guy piss off a woman in America's workplace, you're looking at job jeopardization. Blacks are favored down here. I had a discussion with a coworker yesterday. There's a boy who's in his 20s, does whatever he wants, violates all company rules. He's an idiot. He brags about butt fucking men, and he's dated several women here and turned them into bitter, angry women and ended up quitting. He's a nasty, shitty human being. He's not a good looking black man. He looks like Baby Huey the way he's built. His legs come up to here. He's got this big giant bubble butt, and he's not physique or handsome, but the women all swoon around him while they judge me. The guy has quit, come back. If he doesn't want to show up, he doesn't even make a call. That's failure to report. Nothing happens. I'm like, whose dick is he sucking in the offices? And a woman I work with said, he's handsome. I said, look, I'm not gay, but no, he isn't. I said, no offense, but you guys don't have good taste down here, I noticed. And I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. A lot of blacks I work with have poor taste. The men that they consider suave are chunky, they're out of shape, lots of hair and curly cues all over them. They're not good work ethic. They don't treat their women right. And why would a woman go after a man who's sticking his rod in somebody's anus? But they'll judge me. Clean, not out there having sex, working on my home. Because we live in an upside down, fucked up universe today. Black women today, they're judging the hell out of us. They haven't earned the right to do so. If you look at their own example and their poor bodies and their poor ways and their lack of hygiene and their filthy, dirty work areas and their lack of following the rules, and they judging us? The Bible says, I do not permit a woman to teach. Well, that's Paul, he's a chauvinist. You're going to sit there and pick and choose what is God's word. There's other verses that allude to the fact women were not to be in authority over us. That is not God's ways. And America has reinvented everything constantly. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was lauded as a hero when she died, standing up for women's rights. What are women's rights? To kill their babies, to have sex with their dogs, to be materialistic, obsessive, narcissistic, OCD for themselves. And how has the women's rights movement made women better and more ladylike and more accessible to us men? It's been an epic fail. And you put those women in power, and watch out. Shit rolls downhill fast. I'm not a hater of women, I'm not. But women do not belong over us in any capacity. Not any. God didn't make it that way. Just like God the Father is sovereign, there's pecking order. Women were made to go home. Women were made for men. Hate to break it to you, ladies. You have created spawn. And 75% of black women in America have giving birth to children where suave black male come out and scooted off and left you high and dry, and you're raising kids that have become monsters to society. I know, I live among it. The black male populace does not know the definition of a man. Their response is to shoot or fight. Not agree to disagree. Not be the change they want to see in the world. And when the African American community in this country actually wakes up that they've been dominated and owned by women and Democrats, and they are trying to keep them down, and the school to prison pipeline for the black community, when they wake up and see that, they might be able to turn something around, but they just are incapable of seeing that. I laugh when all these black women judge me. None of them are slender. In fact, there's a woman that works with us. She's got the big giant O earrings. She's slender. She's a beautiful black woman. She always gives me a big old hug. And it's funny, some of the pretty black women don't criticize me. It's all these obese, stubble under the arms, funky smells. And they walk and talk because they got a husband that they're some sort of a queen. And by the way, women, you're not queens. You're chicks. That's it. The black culture likes to say, he's my king, she's my no. I got a necklace that was given to me that I will not wear it. I actually dissected it, and sometimes I wear this. This is actually nice. This is blacks have seen me wearing it at the club, and they're like, "Oh, I like that." But this hangs off of it. And the black woman gave it to me. She goes, "You won't." I said, "I took this off. I'm not a king. There's only one king, and it's the Lord." Black men will walk in wearing this. Laughable. You fucked how many women had all these kids and you ran out of their life? You're a king. My king died on a cross. He gave his life for everybody. No black woman is a fucking queen to me. No black woman is a queen to me. No white woman is a queen. No Hispanic woman is a queen. No Asian woman is a queen. No man is a king. There's only one king, King Lord Jesus. Blame Lizzo. Who's Lizzo? I'm ignorant on that one. This whole queen, princess culture is exactly why women are blatantly immature and narcissistic. If women don't want to talk to you, they ignore you. You wave a woman in the traffic, they can't even bother to say thank you. Women get away with bad manners, bad behavior, bad actions, workplace, out there in the public square, than we do. They do not need to be over us. And you conservative men need to stop praising and yelling and screaming about a conservative woman like in Dakota. No offense. But there's something wrong when men will not stand up and assume the role of leadership that women have to get in there. And then all these dumb conservatives are going, "Oh, she's so good." Shame on you men. Grab your balls, man, and do something. I'm tired of this. We're sorry. We've gotten so bad that we'd rather have a conservative woman in there than Biden. I don't want Biden in there. But look at Kamala Harris. You want to talk about a traitor and a half. When they had the 20 clowns all running against each other for the Democrat primary, and Kamala Harris was talking shit about Biden until he pulls her in as his vice president. She doesn't like him. And she's up there saying he's doing a good job. You're an idiot. You're a politician. You're a lying sack of. By the way, she's 50% India, but she's advertised as black. 50% India, but she's advertised as black. This is what women have done. They redefine terms. Say things like ginormous. They like to text. They love to text. They like to blitz bomb your phone. I'm sorry, I can't answer the call. I'm sorry, I don't have time to do this dumb texting. I hate texting. Do you notice women love it? They're addicted to it. Why? I want to talk. I was thinking of music. Have you listened to Fleetwood Mac? Any of you guys that are my age? She was good. She was outstanding. Put Fleetwood Mac back then up against Taylor Swift and Cardi B today. You tell me. I don't think anybody listening to me can support Taylor Swift or Cardi B. If you do, God help us. Taylor Swift is a whiny fusser. Dating a football player. I mean, this woman is a joke. And she's going to vote for Biden. What kind of a man is this Kansas City Chiefs loser that dates Taylor Swift? A sorry sap. A simp. Sick. Sick, sick, sick. We can go back and look at music and see that Fleetwood Mac didn't sing whiny songs about boyfriends. In a sea of love where everyone would love to drown. Now it's gone. It doesn't matter what for. Now catch something. When you build your house, call me. Oh, now I like Fleetwood Mac, but don't miss that. When you, man, build your house, call me. What does that mean? Women have been inbred to go after a man's riches. Remember the song by Hall & Oates? She's a rich girl. Then you know it don't matter anyway. She can rely on the old man's money. God did not give women the capacity to lead us. He gave them the capacity to sexually satisfy us. He gave them the capacity to raise children. He gave them the capacity to nurture, which is not a strong point of us. Women have done more damage to children than men have. Women have done more damage to children than men have. Women have done more damage to children than men have. I'm living proof. Women have done more damage to children. 61 million abortions. Black women, 75% of them. Morgan Freeman said 75% of the problems in the African American community of their own making. When a country cares more about freaking LeBron Sweaty Brown James and wow, what is his contribution to society? Absolutely nothing. I can play basketball and get paid too much. And he wants to comment on racial issues while he lives under constant police protection and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Let's defund the police in his neighborhood. And LeBron James, did he move to Compton? Shut the fuck up. To every black man out there talking shit about my race, they made big money. You moved to the white hood. You moved to the white neighborhood. Shut up about our race. You're not a man. You're a pussy, and you've been bought and owned by the Democrat left. You've been bought and owned by the new media narrative. You don't think for yourself. And I don't care if you don't like me. Your only answer is to shoot me or to kill me. That's it. I'm not afraid of the black community. They need a megaphone held in their face that says, fuck you, we're tired of your bullshit, now go away. If you don't like this country, get the fuck out. That's what needs to be done. We need to stop. But we got to be careful that we don't offend them. They're offending us every day, folks. Offend them back. No, don't do like Maxine Waters. Don't get in their faces and stuff. But stand tall and say, no, I don't agree with you. More racism comes from you folks than does us. Most white people are live and let live, but not you. I'm amazed at all the black women down here in the South that are just ugly, disgusting. They're not sexy, they're not attractive, and they got husbands that are also out of shape, heart conditions, knee problems, back pains, and they're going to sit there and look at me and go, like Bert and Ernie. 58 years old, I've run circles around my coworker women. They want to comment on my hair, comment on my clothing. If you change your clothes, you get a date. I could get a date walking around like this. I could get a date. There's a lot of black women that date me, but I'm not into women that are this big. I haven't dated here. I've had several women that are married. I've had several women involved with somebody that have hit on me. That's an interesting dynamic. White. I've had women hit on me that are addicted to chain smoking cigarettes. No thanks. And pastors on Sunday want to beat up men for masturbating. What a choice do we have, Pastor? Oh, we got to trust and be a hermit for God. And I heard a pastor just a weekend say, you trust God, he'll bring the right woman to you. Folks, that is a lie. That is a lie. The Bible says he who finds a wife finds favor with the Lord. That means we got to find. Oh, how come we're not finding her? Because all these women don't want us. They want thugs, they want drug dealers, they want sports stars, they want... Remember what I said? America's not into dimensional lumber, is it? They're not into real 2x4s. They're into 1 3/4 by 3 3/4 soft. I've worked with today's lumber, and I want to tell you, those studs are shit. You go to screw into them, the bottom goes... I pulled old studs out of this house. I actually found out this house was a logger's cabin. They had built a sawmill and took out all the forest and built all these homes and milled and timbered the wood to build houses. And my house was a logger's house with a big addition later on. The wood in here is very hard to nail and then screw through. It's very hard and the termites don't get into it. I've repurposed 2x4s of walls I torn down because it was damaged and I wanted to move the door and do things. Man, those studs are solid. They don't split on me. You still run your hand down, you're going to get splinters. And I notice women don't like splinters. They don't like pain and inconvenience, so they're not going to be attracted to me who's going to tell them the truth. I work with women all day long that are full of bad habits, don't follow company procedures, do everything, but they judge me all day long. So, man, I'm a better worker than you. I got better hygiene than you. My armpit isn't this big around. My armpit is cleaner and smoother than 99% of black women. You ever seen a black woman's underarm? It's pretty scary looking. It's pretty gross. And I say this because I'm not going to be judged by God for having sexier armpits than them. I'm going to be judged for this. But black women judge on purely externals when they're not even qualified in their own right. If I was to turn around and say, you're judging me, but you're 300 pounds overweight, you didn't shave, and all that chunked up deodorant balls under there is just really disgusting. And you eat fried chicken and shit all day. Women are not supposed to be over us. Women are not supposed to be in leadership over us. There are bosses, there are supervisors, and they are not competent. I've said years ago Margaret Thatcher was good. She was good for what she did. But where's the men? I don't know the woman's name. Is it Nome, whatever, in South Dakota? Where's the damn men in South Dakota? Where are they? When a black woman can sit there who's probably my age and play power trip, blocking somebody. If I'd have called the police And they could have gotten her right away. They said, "Do you think you can move? You're blocking someone from leaving a parking spot." But the police around here won't deal with the blacks. They're scared of them. They're scared of them. They're afraid of them because 2020 and the liberals have made the police run and put their tail between their legs and ignore the black community. So as far as privilege goes, immature, ghetto acting, bad hygiene, obesity, black women have way more fucking privilege than I do. They can do whatever they want. Nothing happens to them. I've got so many stories I can tell, but I'm not going to suffer my viewers to listen to unpack every damn thing. I've seen enough of the black community to know they're very deficit. And to get involved with black women, they will dominate you right now. Submissiveness is not a characteristic of African American women. If you want to get emasculated, get involved with that. You men marry a woman that wants to control you. You get what you deserve. I let Beth lead me around like a ring in a bull's nose for 4 years. I look at her now, and my mind finally had a V8 somewhere. I don't look at the Filipinos the same. I don't look at them the same. I'm no longer enamored with them. I find when I look at, yes, porn, there's a lot of beautiful white women out there that move me just fine. A lot of Filipinas are immature. The scene has changed on the internet level. Filipinos are now attention-getting WHORES. That's it. They're slut teasers. This is rampant on the internet. There's a girl named Nicole, Hispanic. She's got puffy nipples, very flat-chested, wears no bra, and she sits there shaking and says, "Do not come, do not come." She posts video after video after video after video. She's a slut to tease, gets all these men slobbering all over her. That's it. That's all she has. You're not going to marry anybody. She's not going to fulfill my sex drive. These women are creating a problem. They're all over Facebook. They're all over Twitter. They're all over Instagram. That the only thing women got in American culture to sing is either rabbit in your face activism or teasing. They can't raise kids anymore. They can't cook a good meal no more. And men today have just accepted this. No, they don't belong over us. God does not want us ruled by a vagina. That just goes against the grain of his very creation. But we men abdicated our responsibility. We men allowed the women to get there. We did this. I look back as a kid. I so desired to get a date with the most stuck-up, beautiful girls in school, knowing that they weren't interested in me. I wish I'd have learned it young. I wish I'd have said vocally, yeah, these women are pretty, but they have nothing to offer. They're immature, they're stuck up, and they're conceited. Move on. I promise you, if I'd have done that back then, guys would have beat me up for saying that. You talking about Renee? You talking about Katie Schmalhorst? You talking about Deborah Jenkins? Or you talking about this one or that one? Yeah, they're biatches. They're stuck up. And I bet you, if I was to find all those women now, I'll bet you that I am better looking physically than all of them. I guarantee it. It's funny how girls can have their moment. Tracy Glover, when she whipped her shirt up to tease me in middle school, she had some nice areolas and nipples. And I wasn't embarrassed because no girl had ever done that. I'll bet you she's not pretty now. I'll bet money on the table she's pretty now. White women don't age well, but when they get older, it all goes to hell. Why do I say these things? Some pot-smoking woman with a cat on the table did a video saying Pacific doesn't get it. This coming from a weed user. Her video was pulled down. I don't know what happened to her. Pacific does get it, and that's what angers people. You won't find a YouTube channel. Better Bachelor's good. I'm not here to level critique against him, but Better Bachelor is not going to do what I've done. He's not going to open up his trench coat and show the good, the bad, and ugly of himself. He has a successful channel because Americans are into the world of make-believe. I'm not saying that. I think his name is Joe. Joe, Better Bachelor, is make-believe. He points out the absolute truth on women today, and I listen to him because he has awesome content. And I'm not here to compete against him. I can't. I would never get the views he had. Because, number one, Americans are not interested in raw. They're not interested in truth. It'll get splinters in your hands. I believe Better Bachelor makes a sole living off of that channel. I've had a few people donate, not enough to live on, not enough to pay the bills. Better Bachelor saying the same thing I'm saying. Better Bachelor saying things that I said 10 years ago. In fact, lots of channels have way more views, and they're owning this as if though they've just come out with this thought. I beat them all. Some of the things that they're saying, now I'm like, man, I said this years ago. But because they're a rock star in YouTube land, everybody's like, oh. I was ahead of their time. I was real. To run a channel and to just be transparent is dangerous in this country. Look at TV ads. Look at commercials. Go to the bank. Go to the store. Business is fake. Business is pretentious. How you doing today? Translated, how much money can I dig out of your wallet today? Y'all know them. How many times you gone to church and somebody says, Bob, how you doing today? If you're smart, you can tell they're not really looking for the answer. They're just making idle conversation to appear to act. And I don't do that. Oh, I'm just making a joyful noise to God. I said, I'm here. I'm doing one day at a time. I remember a woman years ago, it was very irritating. She would come in, this is the day the Lord has made, I will rejoice and be glad in it. She was not somebody you could tell you were going to go up. You were not going to go up to that woman and say, I'm really struggling. Could you pray for me? Because you're going to get shit thrown in your face. Well, you're a Christian. You need to make a joyful noise. Okay, that helps. Thanks, babe. Not. Women don't belong over us. They don't belong in the military. And look at how us men have been suckered. Oh, she's a hot basketball. Hot. Have you ever smelled her after a game? Have you ever seen her jersey? There it stinks. You want a woman like that? I want a woman who smells good and sexy as hell, and her nipples stand at attention and says, Pacific, suck me. I don't want some basketball sweaty girl. That's not lady. I don't want lady airline pilots and lady truck drivers and lady Harley riders and lady school bus drivers. And they're not ladies, by the way. A lot of women get into school bus driving because they can just sit and it's easy to just sit down. That's it. If you're attracted to bus drivers and trucker ladies, you got poor tastes. Just say it. Porn has exploded in this country more than any other because women have abdicated their roles. They were supposed to stay at home. You know, COVID, just stay at home. Women never listen to that. Just stay at home. You need to quarantine yourself for your husband and your children. No, they don't want that. And that's why we got kids that are a-holes. That's why we got kids running rampant. And that's why we got traffic everywhere, because now women are cluttering up the roads with their designer SUVs and they can't drive or use a turn signal. But they're liberated. They don't need a man. All they're doing is contributing wreckage to society. Not all women, but most of them. As far as African American women go, 75% of black women are contributing nothing but collateral damage to every single one of us, whites, Asians, and Hispanics, and blacks that work hard and want a better world than they have to offer. When two lesbians in the project are raising a son and they can walk around with no bra all day, and you got to pay for that? Where's the fucking men in our culture? When black men will scrape up money to buy a Crown Vic and spend $10,000 on dumbass, hippie, ugly, dumb, retarded-looking rims, and they come down my street with a Suburban with the back end 2 inches off the ground and the front end 5 feet high, with a PA system with this tinny music on. And I stand there in my yard moving rock and a cement slab with a pickaxe, and I just look and go, that's a fucking man. That's a pussy. Wastes all his money thinking he's cool. Most people look at that and go, retard. That's what the black community is generating. LeBron James, that's the definition of a man. And they show a picture of all the sweaty hair as he's reaching for a shot, and women go, oh. That's the definition of a man today, folks. They're not remodeling a house. They're not doing a damn thing but whatever's good for their silly little wussy ego. And then they want to get political and make statements about us. LeBron, you moved to the white neighborhood. You've got police protection. Shut the fuku up. You're a basketball player. You're not making a difference in the lives of children. You're not making a difference in anybody's life except stupid, vain sports people. If sports left the American scene, it would have no effect on me at all. It would have no effect on any of us except people that are addicted to entertainment culture. I could care less how you handle the ball. Women have ruled over us too much in this country. And men continue to sit by and let it happen. Men will not rise up and stem the tide. Americans are incapable of doing that. As long as we get our paycheck and our little addictions, our little video games, our little internet, our building projects, we don't care. But those women have an agenda, folks. They want to take away man's freedom. They want to take away your right to free speech, your right to own a gun, your right to do anything. And it will get to the point where they won't send you to jail if you say anything against abortion. Women are not supposed to be over us. America is not balanced. Not at all. Women don't belong over us. It's not natural. It was not made in the DNA code by God. Women that are on power trips can't even manage their own deficiencies, and now they're going to tell me what to do. You're poochy, you're overweight, you have no personal discipline, and now you're in a position, a useless position in a company that has a reputation for being shitty, and now it's gone to your tiny little African American head, and you went and got your hair done this wide and this big, and you talk with this booming authority, but you can't get control of your weight and your childishness. It's amazing how head of the pin your mind is. And you judge me. I've experienced more, done more. I've had more positive, productive influence in people's lives than you ever will. Notice I didn't say have, because you haven't any. Black women care about their damn nails. They'll spend $300, $200 on a damn hairstyle, but they won't shave this. Their car looks like a dumpster. Their house has got rats and mice and cockroaches running around and a mess. You men want to bed down with that? When black women are praising the most immature, irresponsible, gross individual, but then they're criticizing the hell out of me. That guy isn't remodeling a house. He fucks women and dumps them. He dates older men and butt fucks them. And women swoon over him and all hang with him like middle school. I'm stating a fact. And when a woman can look me in the eye and say he's handsome, but she herself is overweight, not sexy. Black women that have no physique, but they got that push-up bra and bullet bras with their tits out to here and all that cleavage showing. This is gross. Their butt and legs are gross. There's some funky smells coming out of down there. And they're judging me. I swear, I'm starting to think I live among aliens. Their thinking and their culture and the way they endorse each other just doesn't make logical sense. Well, because it isn't logical. I've been through a neurotic dynamic being down here. It really challenges yourself to dig deep. So you can't accept their thinking, Mike. It's fucked. Most women cannot raise their children in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. That's what the Bible says. Most women cannot respect and revere their husbands. Look at these Christian men now coming out, these neo-Christians that got the gelled hair and look very gayish. Well, God's word says, and they're talking like a child. It's like, where's your freaking manhood? And in the South here, they're really judging me for the long hair. I said, oh, I guess you didn't pay attention to Samson and you didn't pay attention to Nazarite vows, did you? Well, you taking a Nazarite vow? No, I'm not. But God doesn't condemn long hair. People will. Most men in Christian marriages today have this pretentiousness of Christian machoism. But don't be fooled, their wife rules over them. Evangelicalism has failed in this country. I don't care what Christian white women think of me. I already know what I think of them, and it's not a positive. There's been hardly any Christian white women that have had a positive influence on me and given me a deeper passion for God. They're irritating, they're ignorant, they're undiscerning, and they're not submissive, and they don't submit to God at all. They think they do. America has been intoxicated by feminism, and men have bowed to it in the church. Pastors catering to women, not convicting them of their attitudes and their narcissism. No pastor talks about the way women are today. In their own congregation, they're silent, but they'll beat up the men, beat up the men. That's not declaring the whole counsel of God. That's simping. That's white knighting. And no Christian pastor should be involved in that on any level. Women don't belong in authority over us. Let them call us chauvinists. Look at their track record. Look at the state this country's in. Look at all the dumbass Minnesota women that voted for Biden in this primary. Dumb. And they want us to think they're educated and smart. This guy is wrecking this country, and you got dumb women voting for clowns. Dumb women voting for a bartender with big titties that says outlandish things. Dumb women voting for a Muslim woman that hates us. Excuse me. They don't belong in authority over us. Schittmer of Michigan. Michigan is Democrat anyway. Look at what they did to Detroit. Look at what they did to Detroit. Go into those neighborhoods and blacks will kill you. Yeah, Democrat policies do not work. They're destructive. Thanks for listening. They don't belong in authority over us. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what your boss says. Every woman that I worked for, every single one, has deficits of letting their emotion affect them in a negative way. They were not made to lead us. They were not made to be over us.